How do we frame cameras for live video? We'll talk about this and give you a free resource we call the Ultimate Camera Framing Guide. Coming up next.
Be seen, heard, and better understood through virtual gatherings. Elevate your message with Corporate Streams.
Hey everybody, I'm Noah from Corporate Streams. Our aim is to minimize distractions and maximize impact through modern communication tools. Understanding the types of shots that we can achieve for live streaming or live events is like knowing vocabulary words. The more words we know, the more interesting ideas we can convey. With framing the camera, it's very similar. We help add visual interest to the shots we choose, but we also help tell the story of an event through those images. This guide will help explain the vocabulary on what types of shots you could possibly use. So where's the resource? To get a free copy of the Ultimate Camera Framing Guide, visit corporatestreams.com and then freebies. Here you'll find a plethora of resources aimed at adding value to live streamers like you. Let's talk about the Ultimate Guide. So I've got it brought up here next to me and we can see there are several things happening in this image. So let's go ahead and go through and talk about those parts. Let's start from wide to close up and we'll talk about the static shots before we talk about the active or moving shots. So the first thing you'll see is a wider shot that we call head to toe. Right? So this shows your person or your character, obviously from the top of their head, right, to the bottom of their feet. Now you could have a shot that is even wider than that. It just depends on what you're shooting. Our widest shot is the stage wide, and that can be as wide as the stages. Kind of makes sense, right? So you see the bottom of the stage, maybe not see off the sides. You basically want to establish the frame and show people where we're at. This is often used in combination with a zoom in, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Moving in from there, we go to a cowboy, and this is nicknamed because of Westerns, right? They used to have gun holsters on the side of a person. And this is actually my wife playing the character of Gamora. She is a cosplayer, and so I'm using her as an example for this wonderful resource. So you can see the cowboy frame actually helps us in this instance too, because she has two weapons in her hands. The cowboy allows us to see those items that help tell that story. Moving in a little bit closer, this is our medium shot. This is usually just below the belt line, somewhere in that zone. Though there are some variations on this, I like to keep this as our medium shot. Moving in a little tighter is our close-up. This is where it really gets interesting and we can start to see the details on a person's face. And then if you really want to get intimate, you can go to an extreme close-up where you start to cut off the top of the head and really focus on the eyes and facial details. So the next time your multicam director asks for a specific shot, you know what to do. Let's talk about some dynamic movements that can happen to help amplify the shot. The first we'll talk about is a zoom in. So this starts wider and goes into frame, right? This might go from a cowboy to a medium shot to a close-up. It can be any of these varying angles going from one to the next. We also have a zoom out, which is the opposite of that. So going from a closer frame and coming back out to reveal more things. This is very similar to what you would see in a cinematic setup, and we're using a lot of the same terms. There's also the tilt down or the tilt up. This might reveal something above a character or below a character, but really for live video, we tend to just use that for reframing a lot of the time. Now we can pan left or right as well. These pans are often used for somebody who walks on stage and we follow their action. So we'll pan left with them walking left, or we'll pan right when they're walking right. Now here's one you may not hear on a film set as often, and that is the pedestal up or pedestal down. This is moving the camera physically up to get a slightly higher angle, or pedestaling it down to get a slightly lower angle. This is usually done with a hydraulic head on a tripod or another camera support rig as well. Next up, we're going to talk about trucking right or left. This is also known as dollying left or right. This is essentially moving the camera left and right. This can be done on tracks, so the camera has a smooth way of going back and forth, or it can be done with a Steadicam operator or slider, which just moves that camera along a certain axis. Finally, we have trucking in and out, and this is similar to zooming, but instead of using the lens to accomplish the move, we're going to be using the camera physically to move closer or further away from the subject. So we talked about all of the parts of the whole. So this is where it gets interesting. We can start to mix and match our frame sizes to our different movements to give us visual interest in our storytelling. Check out our live stream secrets playlist if you'd like to learn more, and we'll see you in the next one.